Hey guys, James here, and today I want to talk about Battlefield 4. We're just a few days away from release of the full game now. I'm super excited for it. But as with any game, I do have a few concerns. Coming from Battlefield 3, I think the two biggest issues that DICE needed to address were the Assault class and Suppression. Now the Assault class doesn't seem to have been nerfed too badly. There was that little nerf of the defibrillator. You can't really spam it the way you could in Battlefield 3. But assault rifles still seem like the weapon of choice, and the M320 and the med packs are still going to be very effective, as will the assault kit as a whole. Now what has taken this class down a peg is the upgrades to the other classes. In the beta, the Carbines had a very assault rifle-like feel to them, and now they're available for all classes. So now you can use a gun that has a similar feel to an assault rifle without actually playing the assault class. And then another upgrade that the other classes are getting are new gadgets. The Recon class is getting a lot of new gadgets. Now they're able to use C4, the laser designator is a little bit better, and the motion balls can be very effective against infantry. And of course the support class is getting the XM25 airburst launcher, which is great for taking out enemies behind cover. So I do think that assault will probably still be the best class, but it's not going to be by as much, and it won't be as dominant, especially in objective-based game modes. As for suppression, I feel like it's been greatly improved. There are still suppressing effects in the game, especially if you're being fired at by a light machine gun, but no longer do you have that huge decrease in accuracy. Now the main detriments are the longer wait for health regen, and really just the distraction of having that hazy, blurry effect on the screen. So I would say at the very least, these two concerns have taken big steps in the right direction in Battlefield 4. Now on to some of my other concerns. A big theme here is map design. My first issue with map design is that they keep putting in these PowerPoints that are just annoying, and they don't really serve much of a purpose other than just getting kills. The rooftop in Siege of Shanghai domination was a huge issue in the beta. And while you could defend B and C from up there, most of the people that were up there didn't really use it for that, and they just used it to get kills on people who could barely see them. And back in Battlefield 3, I had a lot of issues with some of the points that you could only get to with a spawn beacon. These are spots like the crane on Noshar Canals, and the rooftop and the big building on Karg Island. These are just annoying little spots that it's so hard to get up to in the first place, and I really hope that DICE avoids spots like these when designing their Team Deathmatch and Domination maps. But seeing as the one domination map we've been able to play on has a spot like this, it seems like that'll be a returning trend in this game. Another issue that I have with the maps is that most maps seem to be only good for one game mode. Now of course there are a few exceptions that are solid on pretty much any game mode. A map like Sen Crossing really stands out here. But most maps seem to be made for one game mode and then poorly transformed into maps for the other game modes. The biggest example of this from Battlefield 3 was Caspian Border. Caspian Border was probably the best conquest map in the game, but it had a very poor layout for Rush. And all of this really leads me back to Domination. I'm very excited to see how Domination plays out on different maps. And surely it'll be the main concept when they're designing certain maps, but I'm really interested to see how they transition Rush maps into Domination maps. Because of course Conquest maps, you could see that it wouldn't be too hard to make them into a Domination map, just get rid of a couple flags, tighten things up a little bit. But on a map that's designed for Rush, I'm just not sure how they'll transition it for Domination. If they do these types of transitions well, I think it can make for some great multi-game mode maps, but if not, it'll just be more of the same, with certain game modes only being fun on a few maps. My last main concern is gun balance. The gun balance between the different classes of guns in the beta felt pretty good, but I really think DICE was very careful to only show the guns that they wanted us to see. Now, if you just take that last statement at face value, it seems pretty obvious. Duh, they didn't just randomly slap two of each gun in there. And of course they took some time to think about which guns would be best to show off in the beta, but I do have some more in-depth concerns based around that. And before I get to that concern, I do want to point out that I think they did a really good job of showing the different types of weapons within the same class. So for instance, the two assault rifles behaved very differently, as did the two LMGs, the two shotguns. I guess the two bolt-action snipers didn't really do much differently. But of course they had the designated marksman rifles in there, the semi-automatic snipers. So even with those long-range recon-type guns, there was some variation. But back to my concern, it's really all about the AK-12. I think they wanted us to think that the AK-12 was going to be the class of the assault rifles, and that was going to be the gun that everyone used, and inevitably the gun that everyone complained about, and really people were already complaining about it just from the beta. And I think if it is the best assault rifle, then that's going to be good balance, but I expect it to be more like the AK-74M from Battlefield 3. It has that lower fire rate, more manageable recoil, and if you can shoot in controlled bursts, you can pick people off at pretty long range. But it's no M416 or AEK. Both of these guns are returning. They were arguably the two best assault rifles in Battlefield 3 after the M16A3, which of course is not returning. And I think there's a pretty good chance that both of these guns will outclass the AK-12. I'd expect them both to shoot faster, while having about the same recoil, and of course the same damage. And if I'm correct about this, then I think we'll end up with a similar feel to Battlefield 3 as far as the assault rifles go. There'll be a few elite guns at the top, and then below that there'll be average guns that are useful in certain situations, but aren't really all-around guns like the top few. I also have some other concerns with carbines. In the beta, they felt pretty much like assault rifles, even more so than the Battlefield 3 carbines did in the engineer class. There are a lot of other small things that the other weapon classes do well, such as the mobility and hipfire with personal defense weapons, the suppression with the light machine guns, but my concern is that the overall power of the carbines might be much greater than those little things. And if this is true, I think we'll have a game mode wherein the engineers, supports, and recons mainly use carbines, and then of course assault rifles stick with the assault class. And I feel like if this is what does end up happening, then the class balance in this game might feel even worse than it did in Battlefield 3. Even though people would be using different classes, they'd all be using a gun that's pretty much an assault rifle. And if it does just turn into assault rifle versus assault rifle combat, that takes away a lot of the little things that Battlefield does great. Hopefully all of these gun concerns sort of balance themselves out, and even if they're not right at launch, DICE has shown themselves to be very open to major rebalancing via patches. So hopefully, worst case scenario would be that assault rifles and carbines rule the battlefield, just up until the point that DICE can get their first patch out there. Now, like I said, I'm very excited about this game, and this is just another video to sort of talk myself down and keep my expectations reasonable so that I don't hype this game up so much in my head that the reality couldn't possibly live up to it. I do think I've laid out a few things to keep an eye on though, and hopefully between the changes they've already made from the beta to the full launch, and with the history of post-release support, DICE should be bringing us another stellar game here. Thank you guys for watching this video. Let me know what you're excited about or what worries you going into Battlefield 4. Really just any random thoughts you have about Battlefield 4, just go ahead and leave them down in the comment section. If you liked what I had to say in this video, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like. That would really help me out. And if you want to see some Battlefield 4 videos from me when the game is finally out, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and then those videos will be very easy for you to find. But again, thanks for watching, and have a nice day.